to the She Leads podcast. I'm your host, Adrienne Garland, CEO and founder of She Leads Media, a global media company dedicated to the advancement of women leaders and entrepreneurs worldwide. I'm also an adjunct professor at NYU and Rice University, where I teach on the topic of entrepreneurship. I'm a mom to two wonderful young men and married to my best friend from college. Join me each week as I dive into raw conversations with remarkable, uncompromising, and inspirational women entrepreneurs and leaders. My hope is that these conversations and their advice will encourage you to put yourself out there and gain the visibility that you and all women deserve. We're all about stripping away the sugar-coated conversations and moving boldly in the direction of our magnificent dreams. For far too long, women have been conditioned to soften their words, modify their actions, and show up in the world to conform to outdated at best and harmful at worst cultural norms and ideals. Why? To keep those who are outside of the power structures from gaining power, prestige, wealth, and influence. This has prevented women from being recognized and respected as the powerful leaders that we truly are. The She Leads podcast is here to shine the light on all the incredible women, to encourage us to show up, speak up, and showcase the amazing work we do. Speak with confidence about the innovative and transformational thoughts that we have, and celebrate the positive impact that we are making in this world, both personally and professionally. So let's do this. Let's lead. Hello, and welcome back to the She Leads podcast. I'm so excited to welcome my next guest to the She Leads podcast. Her name is Julie Castro Abrams, and she was actually a speaker at She Leads Live 2024, our 10th anniversary conference. Julie is an expert in board governance, investing, and is an experienced CEO, movement builder, and leader. As the CEO of How Women Lead, which is a network of over 24,000 women, she's dedicated to breaking ceilings for women individually and collectively. She's the managing partner of How Women Invest, the country's largest venture fund focused exclusively on women founders. Julie does so much to help women to get into positions of power so that we can influence our power in a very positive way. I cannot wait for you to hear everything that she's doing with all of the organizations that she's in charge of. Welcome to the She Leads podcast, Julie.
Thanks for having me, Adrienne.
Well, I'm so happy that you are here. You are focused on helping women within corporations, women entrepreneurs, women who want to invest in other women and learn about that. And also women and everybody who wants to give to help women. What in the world prompted you to go down this path in your life?
Well, honestly, I was the CEO of an organization for 12 years, a type of a bank. And there came a point where I was like, you know what? I'm done. After 12 years, I was like, I'm never running anything again. And I'm telling you this as the context of what ended up birthing this whole effort is a lot of women get to this point in your mid 40s to mid 50s where you're sort of like, you know what? I am not willing to put myself through that thing the way I was doing the work before. Yeah. Often you're working in a company where it's a square peg and you're a square peg and it's a round hole. Like, it's often the case that the cost is too high. And so actually what I had to do is think, how am I going to do my work differently? And how do I want to show up in the world? How do I want to use my life force? And so I got a group of friends together just for a lunch. Someone had written a book and wanted to get in front of some corporate women. And when we were together, it was really fascinating. I don't know why, but people really were like, I've never been in a room of all women who are my peers. And these women are unbelievable. People wouldn't let the speaker speak. People wouldn't leave. And someone put a LinkedIn group together and said, do this again. You have the best network. And after a while of, paying for everybody's cocktails, I was like, all right, well, you can pay for your own cocktails. And realized in your mid 40s, you actually enter a life stage called middlescence when you need other women and you need to have an impact to be happy. So for all of your listeners, if you're feeling this pull of like, I got to do something bigger than myself, I want to have an impact in the world. I've been running up the ladder, maybe raising a family. It's time for me to do something different. That's normal. It's literally a developmental life stage. A lot of us just don't even know. And it sort of creeps up on us. And I just thought, okay, what if I activate all of us to make change so that individually and collectively we can break ceilings? That was really the impetus. And, we're all whole people. So you talked about a couple different things that I do, but think about yourself. Everybody who's listening is a philanthropist. You donate to someone. I know you do, or volunteer your time. Everybody here invests some money somewhere, your 50, your retirement account, something. And we all are leading in some way and thinking about our impact in the world. And so I think of us as whole women. And if we come together, we can have big impact and also have a lot of joy around it.
I think that everything that you described is so poignant for where I kind of want to go next with our conversation. And you talked about there's that adolescence point where we feel like we want to make an impact. And that is an internal driver that I think we can all recognize at some point in our lives. I feel like now there are external forces upon us that are also prompting us to do something different to make change. So you described everything that we have all been focused on. How do we, secure financing? How do we break through these ceilings that have been put up, above us, or break through the glass, ceiling, all of that? That has been such hard work. We have been pushing that boulder up Mount Everest. I'm trying to think of like the biggest mountain. We've been pushing that boulder up there. And boy, we're getting stuck and all of it. So I can't help but think that, can we do something differently so that we're not pushing up against something, but rather that we create something brand new that feeds all of us women collectively so that we can help humanity at large and the planet while we're at it?
So it is true that there are barriers that are feeling really painful. But I just want to remind you of a couple data points. This one knocked my socks off. It came out in the Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago. In heterosexual households in the United States, 45% of those households have a female primary breadwinner. Women are making the most money in that household. Women have 52% of the wealth today. So it actually is a really fascinating moment of opportunity that I'm going to say women ourselves need to come together and make the change we want to see, because we have the power, wealth, and influence to make huge change. We are literally, I don't know about all of you listening today, but I've been working for 35 years. Like, I have a huge career. I have a lot of influence. And if you get 10 women like me together in a room, we can make big things happen. So this is the big opportunity and the challenge. Our culture is not good for women, and we all buy into it. No shame. It just is true. So what I've asked everyone who's the 25,000 women that are part of my network to do is to commit to do the opposite of what the culture says. So be fierce advocates for each other. No mean girl behavior. So it's the opposite of the culture where we pit women against each other. Instead, actively and fiercely advocate for each other. If you know other people are going to do it for you, we'll do it for each other. So that shared commitment is really powerful. We ask people to reinforce her voice when she speaks up and isn't heard. I mean, you're part of this, Adrienne. You put women on stage, you get women's voices out there. But so often what happens, the PR Council of America actually did a study and looked at the business and finance news, for example. Women were only cited in 20% of those business and finance articles, if you will, and news representation. Our voices are not heard. And when you write a book, when you get an award, there's a bit of it's kind of silent. And we just want to elevate men's voices culturally. And we have to actually actively decide we're going to reinforce her voice when she speaks up. So there's 4 things on our credo. The third is we literally ask you to say yes to making introductions and helping each other. Networks are everything.
Mm-hmm.
Men are deal making all day. They've all culturally agreed that it's acceptable. Women, I often go into women's spaces and they'll be like, this is a no pitch zone. That's not good for women. That protectionist stuff it's not good. Or people who will not share their contacts and make introductions, which is also super frustrating and not good for us collectively. So the fourth one, and this is the one that's the hardest for most people. So think about all of you being on this podcast, be unabashedly visible, take up space, get your voice out there, whether it's writing or speaking. We need to take up space and be visible. So all of those 4 items are countercultural, but if we could all agree to those, I think it could heal a ton. We don't trust women. Women don't trust other women. We don't trust women leaders culturally. And that's the problem. We need to shift the culture.
There's an incredible woman, her company is called We Are Culture Makers. And she does a lot to help women to get visible, to write, to really dive deep into what their thoughts are and to share them. And I agree with you that in the past, our culture has not given women the attention or the respect that we absolutely deserve. The women that I know are so fucking incredible. And when I see that they are not sort of getting ahead, my mind is blown, I just listened to, it was a commencement speech, Reshma Sujani, Girls Who Code. It was from 2023. Did you hear this commencement speech?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, it really blew me away because she said that the women that are in the women and, the young women that are part of the Girls Who Code community, she said, she can put them in front of any man, board, CEO, and they would run circles around them, Yeah. And I just thought, gosh, that's so true. And we need to change the culture. So if we have, I go back to this amazing statistic about women control 52% of the wealth today, which I did not know. So thank you for sharing that. If we have the wealth, what is preventing us from using that wealth for influence and for power? What do you think are some of the things that are getting in our way so that we can see them, so that we can get past them?
So my experience is we hand over the decision making to men, basically. So while women have 52% of the wealth, it's my money. 98.6% of all assets are managed. So like when I go to invest my money somewhere, 98.6% of it is white men making those decisions about where assets are being managed. So that's a huge opportunity for us. Where are you putting your money? Mm-hmm. And is it aligned with your values and benefiting women? So there are a bunch of different things that I can encourage you to think about. But first and foremost, when you identify your values, look under the hood and see, where are my funds being invested? So someone recommended I do this in my mid 40s. And I had donated money for prison reform and all kinds of things because I believe that we're imprisoning people unfairly in this country. And then I realized I was accidentally investing in private prisons in my portfolio. And I didn't even know it. It was just one of the products in a mutual fund. It was one of the portfolios. Sure. So a lot of us you need to look and pay attention. Are you investing in things that are climate hurting or helping? Where is your money being invested? And then take an active stand. And when the person who's been the decision maker tries to tell you that, what'll happen is people are so condescending and disrespectful. Sometimes they're like, well, I want to make you the most money as possible. So you need to let me have all the freedom to invest your money however I want. Well, that's not necessarily it's not necessarily the financial strategy that will get you the most money. They often have incentives that are not aligned with your value, what's important to you, but more what keeps the assets under management with that firm. There's all kinds of things that we should be thinking about, and women need to be stepping in and creating products and solutions. And I'll give you an example. There's all of the women who are CEOs of public companies in the United States. Those companies they're running, companies run by women, public companies, are all put into an electronically traded fund called the WCEO ETF. It's an electronically traded fund. I think we can buy it at like $34 for one share, and you get a small ownership in all those companies. And you can buy that for your daughters and the women on your team, and start having a conversation with them about investing. That's a great example of like, I'm going to double down on companies run by women. And by the way, it's returning more as of today than the S&P 500. But really look at your values and think, am I participating in the future I want to see, or am I accidentally participating in the way things have always been, status quo?
That is such great advice.
If we want equal pay for women in this country, asking men to pretty please change their behavior and their biases doesn't work.
No.
What we have to do is we have to have women who start companies, and you and me, Adrienne, and all the women listening here, each of us needs to put some money into venture funds or do angel investing, and we need to be investing in those companies.
Yes.
That's the only way that there's going to be family and medical leave, that we want equal pay, women in the C-suite. All that happens when you have a woman CEO and founder. It doesn't happen. And we are seeing it right now with this backlash against D&I. All of a sudden, all these men who were out touting some kind of positive behavior are, contracting, and no longer, as long as someone gave them permission, they're no longer advocating for women's equal pay or any of the things that are important to us. So stop asking for permission and go out and build your own.
I love that. And, I feel like we started to see that during COVID, when women were just sort of forced to not work because they had to take care of the children that were home because of COVID and everything. And we saw a rise in women starting businesses. And, I love it. My whole entire thesis, I guess, is that entrepreneurship is the answer for women because it gives us the ultimate control, right? But I think sometimes with that control and the ability to sort of do whatever we want, we don't then know exactly what to do, because the companies that have been started in the past that have gone on to success, for the most part, have been designed for and by people that are not women, right? And so, so those systems, they work, and they work really well for primarily men.
Well, they do, but Adrienne, let's step back and think like, how well is that working for all men? Because what I know is the gap between CEO compensation and the men working in those companies and women is huge. So we look at Mark Zuckerberg as if that's the standard that any of us could be, but all of those CEOs, when you look at the, what's happening for the employees in those companies or even the customers of those companies, I would not say it's working for the vast majority of the people. It's certainly working for those CEOs of those companies.
Yes. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I often talk about humanity because first, women have got to be in more positions of power. There has to be equality, but it's not because women are better, men are better. It's because, as a whole, humanity needs to evolve, right? And I do believe that we are taught, and I even teach it, how to create companies based on models that don't sort of work for humanity. They certainly don't work for women. They probably don't work for the majority of men, but really they're just not working for humanity. So how do we start these companies that sort of have humanity at their core and help people overall? Because we can't just keep starting these same types of companies, even though they deliver incredible returns and, the stock market rewards them and everything. We need to create something different, but at the same time, we need to make profit. Yeah. What are your solutions?
Well, this is what I can tell you. For 25 years, I've been working with women entrepreneurs to start their own companies. And in almost every single case, if they are not creating a solution in the company to solve for humanity's problems, whether it's a climate solution or something like that, the behavior of how they're running their company is absolutely pro-social and has all of the things that you are wanting to see. Hiring people at good wages, giving people the right amount of breaks, all of the things that we want to see. They're making sure they're carbon neutral in their impact on the world. They're buying other products from local companies and celebrating and supporting the neighborhoods where they work. So I've been doing this with over almost 7,000 women entrepreneurs, and that is absolutely consistent.
Love it.
So I don't think we have to look for who wants to start a company that's pro-social and good for humanity. I think what we need to do is fund them. And this is the thing that's nutty. Now, it's always the case that whoever's smaller or younger in a industry, whatever, they're going to be working harder. They're going to, whoever's out and not the absolute center of the universe is going to have to work harder and be better. So what we're seeing, so I'm giving that as the context, but women return 34% more for their investors. The financial returns for women returning to their investors is extraordinary.
Wow.
So I'll give you the opposite. Male-led companies perform 63% worse than female-led companies. They have lower revenue per dollar of funding, where women are at like 81 cents, men are at 32. I'm not trying to bash men. This is just real data. And what happens is women-run companies are more capital efficient and performance driven. No surprise, you don't have as much capital. So I invested in a company that uses biofuels to create the cathodes and lithium batteries to decarbonize the process and not have precious metals and, less money, faster to market, waterless process, all the good stuff. There were some male competitors in this space, and she got like $2 million investment in her last raise. They got $20 million. Well, we just had an economic downturn where, people were not getting follow-on investments in their companies. And 3 of those guys went out of business this summer because they didn't stretch their dollars far enough. And so the women are surviving significantly longer. So there's a lot of
it's like good and bad to that.
I'm not going to say it's because women are so different than men, but it is, the women have to be better, smarter, faster, more educated in order to get their fair share.
Yeah. And, that's really, really interesting too. And it makes sense. It tracks, right? Because women just in our homes, we know how to, make a meal out of whatever's in the cabinet, right? And so I can see how we are much more efficient with what we're given. The solution, invest in women, is so good. And I think we just need to be very mindful of that. You hear so much about how venture capital financing, angel investment does not go to women at the same level as it does to men. So having people that are investing in women-owned businesses is great, but how do more women ask for that type of investment and actually secure it?
Well, the good news is, in 2010, there were only 12 women-run venture firms. By 2020, there were 300.
Yeah.
So I am sure there's a venture fund out there that is in your industry and could potentially be, if you're venture backable, you can find a woman-run venture fund that is going to be a good fit for you, or 10 or 20. So what is the case is those women-run venture firms are a young market, so they're small. So for you, everybody listening here, when it's right for you, it's important for you to be thinking about what is the balance of your investing portfolio. People do not win and make a lot of money on the stock market over the long run. The wealthiest people in the United States invest in private equity, which is venture firms, and private equity firms, which is it's all part of a same type of a alternative investments. And I'm not giving anyone advice on what they should do, but you should look into it. Now, most financial advisors don't have experience that you might not have experience in venture investing. So if they personally have not invested in venture, and if the rest of their clients aren't investing in venture, I think you should probably go get some alternative advice if you're getting anything from them where they're saying, oh, this is risky. They'll say that because they don't know any better. They'll also say it because their incentive is for you to both buy their products, but also for them to have more assets under management. If you say, let me peel off $100,000 of my retirement funds and invest in a venture firm that's aligned with my values, where I can get access and visibility, and I can put it in my LinkedIn and people will think I'm a power player because I'm investing in venture, they'll discourage you from it in many cases. And so you have to be quite assertive. It's your money, not theirs. Them being patriarchal and condescending to you and saying, this is a risky asset class. Are you sure you want to do this? That is not, and then saying, oh, well, then if you're going to do this, let's go to, something where the old white guy institutions are. They're not returning as much money for you. So the system itself, these asset managers are not women. Even if the front person who talks to you is a woman, the people making the decisions about, what is in those portfolios are, right now, the data says it's white guys. So you need to be assertive and take control of your investing dollars. And it's a power play. Let me tell you, think about it. If you go to your next cocktail party or business meeting and you're like, I'm a venture investor, and you can literally send, $10,000 or $25,000 to a venture firm and invest with them. They're the experts. You don't have to be an expert, but it gives you a glow. It makes everybody be like, oh, you're investing in venture. You know something. Yeah. Like you're a power player. And guys have been doing that for a long time. And I think it's time for all of us to step in.
So in the work that you do and in your community, you have How Women Network. Is this part of what women are talking to one another about? Are you teaching, sort of how to see the light, how to educate yourself? Is that what you're doing as part of everything that you're doing?
That is right. Everything I'm doing. It all is about you in this life stage, stepping into your power and influence and wealth, but also the happiness that comes from having an impact and doing things with other women. It might be volunteering an hour a month to advise a reproductive justice nonprofit executive director or somebody working on other challenges globally. There's a lot of ways you can get involved with other women, which is the fun part, to make the world a better place.
Can you also talk about some other resources that are available out there? I mean, I hope that many people find out about you and all the work you're doing. There's a lot of other great communities that are out there. There's a lot of other women that are doing similar things. Sometimes it's confusing to understand where you should really, put your time and educate yourself. Can you talk about maybe some other just resources for women? Because I do think that the message that I'm getting from you is educate yourself and be fierce about educating yourself.
Yeah, well, and stepping into your power and not letting anyone talk down to you. So, but, I'm a big believer that, everybody has different needs.
Yeah.
Right now, today, we're just off of an American election and Black women are in particular psychic pain, as far as I can tell. People have been talking to me about how betrayed they feel. If you're a Black woman right now, you might want to go find a network of other Black women, whether it is Black women on boards, it could be something super professional. Mm-hmm. But for everybody, you need to sort of think like, what is the right group for me? Sometimes some people want only social, some people want business only, and other people want something on the spectrum. So How Women Lead is a network. You don't pay a membership fee, but you have to commit to the credo and be nice and be fierce advocates for each other and the four things that I said. And I'm very left politically, Adrienne. Mm-hmm. And I've had some people who, like, I put out a message on for Pride and someone was like, you're advocating people living in sin. I was like, if you feel that way, go find another network that's aligned with your values. Yeah. Because here I'm unabashed. I'm too old to be playing games with what's important to me. So, yeah.
Well, I love that so much. And how can people sign up for the network and agree to the 4 credos because they are so important?
If you go on our website at How Women Lead, sign up for a leadership journey call. It's free. You will get a self-assessment tool where you can sort of say, this is where I'm at with my life and this is what's important to me. And you can see if we have the right resources for you today, where you can sort of say, all right, good, I'm going to take this class or sign up for this thing. And yeah, I look forward to meeting you. I do those once a month. So I'm available for an hour every month.
I'm signing up for one. For sure.
Good.
Julie, I can't thank you enough. The work that you're doing, the way that you're doing it, you being you is so damn inspiring. I just adore you. And I just want you to continue to help uplift, all of us, right? All of humanity, all the good people, and do something different. We definitely need to do something different. I said it to you before we got on the call, and I just want to tell you here on this podcast, I really appreciated the way that you showed up and spoke up at the She Leads conference. You showed up as you, and I was like, this woman is a breath of fresh air, and more of us need to see that so that we can feel comfortable that we can also be that as well. Cause it's inside, it's inside of us. It's there. So thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for reinforcing my voice and putting other women on stage. It is such a big gift to have someone like you being a champion for other women. So, and for everybody here who's listening, if you're not 50 yet, and if you're nervous about it, I can tell you once you turn 50, there's this permission to be yourself in a way that you don't find in other parts of your life.
I love it. I love it. I got to 50 and I still wasn't there, but I'm there now. So I'm a little late bloomer. I'm 54, but I'm there, especially now.
Speaking out, saying my truth. Like, I don't care if you
what
don't
else
like
do
me.
we have to lose, right? Well, Julie, thank you so much. This was so lovely. And I will be speaking to you on that call soon.
Sounds good. All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
This and all of our episodes are brought to you by the She Leads Podcast Network, the podcast network for women, by women. Thanks so much for listening to the She Leads podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support us, please share it with others, make a personalized post about what you took away on social media, and please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. This helps our guests and our show to continue to gain visibility and traction. To learn more about how She Leads Media helps women to gain visibility, you can follow us on Instagram at She Leads Media, or you can head on over to sheleadsmedia.com. If you'd like to network with me and other amazing women, don't forget to join us each year for the She Leads Live conference. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon. This is the She Leads Podcast Network.